Hi. So, hello. My name is Sam, and this here is Becky. How are you?
I'm great, Sam.
So, yes, video. Actually, kind of terrifying. Always not something I'm used to. Much more of a radio person, which is perhaps why you're watching this video. This is our Patreon welcome, slightly small amounts of begging video.
Yeah,
Is that how you describe it? So, if you're watching this, chances are you're a fan of Ask an Atheist. Ask an Atheist has been in continual production since 2010. It started out as a very different show with a significantly larger production cast because it was a anchor-style cable access television type show. And then at the end of 2010, we evolved into a radio show on one radio station, then we went to another, then we were on a few, then back to one. And now in our current incarnation, we are doing just the podcast, which I'm actually very excited about. How do you feel about that?
I am too.
I like the opportunities and the flexibilities of the format, and I'd like to do a lot more, which is what brings us to this whole Patreon situation. So I guess we should first answer the question, why do we have a Patreon? Well, the first and easiest one is that a lot of people have asked me about it, and have asked the show at post shows, at events and things like that. And we thought it was time to actually do it. And in fact, Becky here has been sort of running that whole process for me and explaining it to me in small words so that I can easily understand. So in case you're wondering, Peggy's challenge, the challenge from Peggy from Kent to the listeners of Ask an Atheist to help us keep the lights on, that's not going anywhere. Our PayPal account is remaining where it is, and that's still a great way to help us out. But other people have asked for Patreon. And frankly, as we've moved to new media, we're wanting to do some different and cooler things, which is why, if you'll notice on the Patreon page, it isn't for Ask an Atheist. It's for me, Sam Mulvey. The ego continues. But there's a lot of stuff we want to do, and Patreon seems to work out really well for some friends of ours, and so we thought we would give it a shot. But we should probably tell you what we're planning on doing with it. First and foremost, there's a lot of stuff that Ask an Atheist needs that I haven't been able to spend time on because I've been mostly focused on production and, frankly, getting it to the radio station. Like, you describe it as swag.
Yeah, so I know that there have been some people that have been totally willing to plaster our logo all over themselves, and apparently that's something you want. Well, we kind of need some funds up front to be able to do that. We've also
and a lot of those funds have been going for the costs of broadcast production, which are not small.
the least airtime is it's an expense, which we don't have anymore at this point, but we do still need some funds for those things that we have been holding out on.
Right. In fact, this is probably the last time you're going to see the insides of this particular studio. We're going to be reconstructing it, and that's going to require some funds. It's a kind of a required reconstruction, and you'll probably find out why on the show. We also would like to take the show on the road again. We went on tour in 2013, and that was a lot of fun. Love to do it again. And frankly, and part of the reason why it's for me is I do more than just Ask an Atheist in this studio. So there are other shows that are done here, and I like providing that service. And then so having help building the studio into what I want it to be will help all those other people. It's
not just for us as creators, but it's for all of those other creators out there on Patreon as well.
But the other thing is actually the main reason why it's not for Ask an Atheist, and it's me, is that I want to go on the road and I want to do a little bit more journalism than I've had the opportunity to do in the last couple of years. I have some ideas for some really great stories that may or may not fall under the Ask an Atheist banner, but I think Ask an Atheist listeners will find really entertaining and really enlightening about political movements, scientific movements, and I'd like to go out there and get the story, and that story is really just not available within the confines of Tacoma, Washington. And so travel funds would be a really great way for me to go out and get that story and perhaps do some actual journalism podcasts, which is something that I've always really wanted to do and felt like I might have a talent for, and now it's put up or shut up time, right?
I think you'd be good at it, Sam.
So, what do you get? I mean, that's the fact of the matter is, if if you're going to be a patron in the traditional sense of the word, there should be some return on that investment. And I've always been I've always kind of liked that idea.
Yeah, and we've got some fun little things that'll pay off. There will be some podcast extras outside of our weekly hour-long programming that will be mostly still FCC, clean language, so you can listen to it in the car with your kids. But those little extras may be interesting topics.
And perhaps the ability to drive some of those extras. I mean, all right, what do you get? Well, you get what you've always, at the base, you get what you've always received, which is 1 hour of fresh material every week. Rain or shine. I think there's been very few weeks that we haven't been able to provide on that promise.
We did say continuous production.
We've said continuous production, and that means doing editing from a hospital bed. I'm not kidding.
It's true.
But you get things. I think there's a giving level where I'll make a plaque.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've also got some mystery bonus items. We've collected some awesome, funny things along our travels and from different listeners. Sam really likes propaganda, weird propaganda.
And then if things come together correctly, I'm doing some very interesting projects here in the studio, other stuff, some open source projects, some open source software, which I'm already in the process of releasing. And so maybe some behind the scenes videos of me doing some cool stuff, maybe working on that Western Electric board you may or may not have heard of. That's another possibility. And that's just the start of it. We're going to try and find ways to thank our patrons as time goes on. And actually, the fact of the matter is, if you're willing to regularly donate to the cause of our production, that gives me a group of people who I know have a vested interest in what's going on, and then I get to ask you guys questions that I normally just have to ask random people. A lot of things are remaining the same. You're still going to have 1 hour of FCC clean material a week. Ask an Atheist with Sam Mulvey. That's not going anywhere. In fact, I think it's going to get a lot more interesting from here on in. But you're going to get a lot of other material besides. And then we're finally going to be able to do a lot of the things and the swag or whatever, and a lot of the side stuff that we've always wanted to do but never really had the opportunity to do.
Some of that conference travel.
Yeah.
We'd love to get out of our little corner of the Pacific Northwest often.
Yeah.
We had the 2 oil change tour in 2013, but we totally missed Texas and the Southeast.
Yeah.
And I know that we've got listeners out there.
We absolutely do. And, shoot for the moon. I've never actually... I know we've got a lot of listeners in Europe, and the closest I've been to Europe is New Jersey. So maybe that might change. I've had about as much video as I can handle, and I think you may have as well. So we'll wrap this up. If this is the first time you're seeing us or hearing us, check out askanatheist.tv. And if you're a fan of the show, I encourage you to figure out how that Patreon thing works. And it would go a very long way with us. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.